Let me just go straight into a conversation with Mr. Adi Godrej. Lots to talk about, so won't waste any time. Mr. Godrej, very good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks so much for coming in. I apologize to have kept you waiting. I'm going to start with the big picture because there's so many specifics to discuss. But the big picture, I don't know what real impact it will have on the economy down the line, but it certainly seems to have done the trick of turning confidence around.
Yes, I think it's very important that the reform process has started, and to my mind started with a bang. I think clearly fiscal deficit needs to be addressed. More will have to be done. But I think the fuel price being tackled and disinvestment being decided upon is very important. Of course, as I said, more will have to be done. The foreign direct investment opening up is also a very good development. I think it will improve the perception of India both outside and within India. Investment flow will improve. But I was a bit disappointed at the RBI action today.
Since you mentioned that, let me get that out of the way, sir. I think everybody in industry is a bit disappointed. Why? The RBI is at least continuing to add liquidity and, in the hope that the banks pass that on through lower deposit and lending rate costs. Isn't that comfortable for you?
No. CRR reduction is important, and that's a good step. But clearly, the rates needed to be reduced. The high interest rates are seriously affecting GDP growth. It is affecting investment as well as consumption of things like automobiles and residential housing, which needs to be financed. And most importantly, the lack of GDP growth is raising inflation in this country. Because of the low GDP growth, the rupee has depreciated, which is the biggest inflationary factor today. And if the rates are reduced, the rupee will appreciate and inflation will come down. To my mind, that's a very important consideration which the RBI is not taking into account.
Some of that, Mr. Godrej, may happen on account of what's happening globally, but I get your point that you're saying the central bank can't wash its hands off the growth story. Yes, the government has to do a lot, but the central bank has to be supportive. In some ways, they've said that in their statement today. So maybe there's hope. Maybe in the October policy, we'll see something in terms of rate cuts as well.
Yes, but that will be late. It needs to be done now. GDP growth is very important now. And the rupee depreciation needs to be halted. The rupee has been allowed to depreciate far too much, and that is the main cause of inflation today.
Okay, a point taken, Mr. Godrej. I can't argue with you on that one. I do want to, though, ask you, and switch focus to the government measures as well. As we're talking about GDP growth, if you look at the measures that the government has announced, net, do they really do anything to growth, Mr. Godrej?
Yes, I think it will, because the perception of the country has improved. It will bring in more investment, both in FDI and FII. I think very clearly we ran the danger of a downgrade in India, which to my mind will be averted. Of course, the government needs to do more in the days ahead.
Speak to me, Mr. Godrej, on how you see this retail FDI story in particular playing out. There are costs and benefits attached. There are questions around, how this will play out at individual state levels. You're somebody who knows that sector in and out. How do you see it benefiting, but also how do you see the adjustment sort of playing out?
No, I think it will be benefit for the economy, very clearly. It will be beneficial to the consumer. More competition always creates benefits. I think there will be a lot of investment in technology to the back end, which will help improve logistics in the country, cut costs, reduce wastage. So all in all, I think it's a very good measure. And the more states implement it, the better. I think even the states who may decide not to implement it in the beginning will soon fall in line, because they will see the great benefit this sort of development will have for both their consumers and their farmers.
And sir, in terms of the potential negatives that are talked about, particularly on the domestic industry, are those overstated, sir? Are the long-term benefits far greater than the shorter-term, adjustment process, as I called it earlier?
What are the negatives? I haven't heard of any negatives. I haven't heard anybody making sense about the negatives.
Sir, in terms of just local stores, whether they can fight that battle, it's a concern. It may or may not be valid in your opinion, but it is a concern.
No, not at all. Not at all. The local stores will be very competitive. Today we have Indian modern retail investments. The local stores are competing very successfully with them. They will continue to do well. This will be an added retail outlet. As the economy grows, we'll need more retail outlets, and foreign direct investment will help fill that need. Local stores will continue to do well. They are very competitive. And more competition always improves efficiency. It will improve the efficiency of local stores. Already we see that local kirana stores have become more efficient ever since Indian investment in modern retail has started. Competition encourages efficiency, encourages productivity, and that's how an economy grows. And we should welcome it.
Point taken, Mr. Godrej. I have time for one or last question, and here I want to focus once again, something that got buried a little bit. This talk from the Finance Minister on Saturday at the Planning Commission meet of a National Investment Board. I know that's long term, sir, but in terms of the potential to have an impact, it's a very, very significant proposal, and hopefully it'll get pushed through.
Yes, I think it's very important that we should facilitate investments, especially the large investment, the large product. Many of them are getting delayed because of lack of coordination at the government level. So I think this is a very good proposal. I hope they take it forward. And I think we clearly need to facilitate investment in the country so that GDP growth can be restored. Fortunately, we are in a position, if we take all the measures to get development going, especially the goods and services tax, we can be back to a 9% growth rate in the next financial year.
All right, let's hope so, sir. It's a long way to 9%, but even if we get anywhere close to that, I think we'd all be happy. Thanks, Mr. Godrej. Appreciate your time, and sorry again for any
Good talking to you.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.